Now you know why they're cooking and not stand up. Okay. Very simple risotto. Do you guys cook at home much? Yeah. Yeah? Yeah? Do risotto?
Yeah, no.
Yeah? Good luck on being judged now.
Can you just remind us what's in the risotto?
Yeah, so we've got some chopped shallot, just going in there now. When you're making a risotto, tend to use olive oil, and again this is where the rapeseed oil would come in. You could very easily use the rapeseed oil for this instead of an olive oil. Olive oil and butter. I'd recommend to use unsalted butter because when you use salted it burns, salt crystals catch. The reason you use olive oil and butter, if you put butter on its own, it burns too quickly, so the olive oil stops the butter from burning, the butter gives you the flavour. We're also going to coat the grains of rice. Also going to put some garlic in here. And another tip, if you're making risotto at home, onions first, then the garlic. If you put them both in together, the garlic will burn before the onions burn. The reason behind that is that garlic contains a lot more sugar than onions. So the sugar will caramelise in the garlic before it caramelizes in the onion. Again, I don't think we grow risotto rice in the UK yet, so I'll have to revert to Italy. Not quite sure that's south east, more southwest of here.
The ones in me probably.
So what you want to do with the risotto, the reason you start cooking it first before you put any liquid in, is you want to coat the grains in the oil so that they remain separate when you cook. You don't want a claggy, lumpy sort of rice pudding. You really want to be able to see the grains separated. The rice variety I've got here is a Bialoni Nano. You can just as easily use Carnaroli or Oreo. I prefer this one, it's got a bit more of a texture, a bit more crunch to it. So you just heat that up first, get all the grains coated. And this is where you'd normally use wine, red or white, but I'm going to use apple juice, hopefully that will offset the cheddar.
Just show us which juice you're using.
Sorry,
Show us which juice you're using. Who's apple juice?
This is this man standing right on your shoulder there.
That's yours.
It only works with this.
Yeah. And again, this recipe will only work with this particular variety. Now it's a good time to start seasoning now. A lot of people do this and they season at the end. They make the risotto, they then chuck a load of salt. Salt, pepper is like any other ingredient. You have to cook it into your dish. And it saves you putting an awful lot more. There's a big movement against salt at the moment. You know, the health police keep telling us not to use it. But the argument is if you put a little bit in at the beginning, you use a lot less at the end. You know, if you unseason your food and you take it to the table, you're forever chucking loads on the top, and that's not good. If you're cooking it in there, you need a lot less. Okay, so that apple juice is sort of soaking into the rice now.
Is that Mitchell's apple juice?
That is Mitchell's apple juice, yeah, absolutely.
I will promote fresh produce. I will be promoting fresh produce.
I hope I'm on a commission basis for this. Okay, so here we've got a stock. This is literally made using fresh chicken bones, some vegetable peelings and so on. Now what I've done with this, it's very important, sorry by the way, that you add the stock to the risotto rice hot. Otherwise it won't absorb. You just chuck a load of cold stock in there, all that heat you built up into the pan will stop, and you're going to cool it down and the rice thinks it's time to stop cooking. So it helps with the absorption. And that's what you want, that sort of bubble. And the absorb. So this method, as I say, in sort of culinary terms, it's called absorption method. Okay, so basically you're putting liquid in, the rice is sucking it up, and then you're putting more in. If you try to, there's arborio rice or any risotto rice, if you try putting it all in at once, what you end up with is a very mushy outside and raw inside, because the rice, the way it operates, it sucks stuff up very quickly. So you want it to absorb it relatively slowly so that it gets right into the grain.
Do you want it on a really hot heat or just a mild? You know, if you want it really.
Depends how quickly you can stir. You know, it's better hot really. I mean, not boiling hot because you'll burn the rice before it sort of absorbs and you'll evaporate all the stock off. but you want hot enough that it soaks it up. I mean, you can slow it down. If you've got people come around for dinner party and the doorbell goes, yeah, turn it down, it won't hurt too much, but you do need to keep it moving as much as possible. And the real purist Italians will tell you can only ever stir risotto in one way. You can't do that. Obviously I'm not Italian, so I'm doing the wrong thing. But you can't, you know, they're very, very passionate about the rice they use and, you know, the quantities they use. So a tip, if you ever make risotto at home, when you're doing it for things like, say, dinner parties and stuff, is what they do in restaurants. If you ever order a risotto in a restaurant, they don't do this. They don't start from scratch every time they get a portion of risotto. We 3/4 cook it, so we'll let that lot there, we'd let that absorb, so it's sort of half to 3/4 cooked, then we take it off and cool it down in a flat tray, bag it up, put it in the fridge. So when you get one on order, you take one out, you pop it in there, you add your hot stock and you finish it with your parmesan and everything else. It's a really good tip when you cook at home, that, you know, you're not standing there, guests are arriving and you're sitting there stirring frantically. Have it made the day before, put it in the bag, wrap it up, keep it in the fridge, and then you can just finish it off right at the very end.
That's a really good tip. And just keep it in the fridge, or do you keep it in the freezer?
Fridge, well, if you want to freeze it, you can freeze it in portions and, you know, just take it out as you want to.
Okay, great.
Now, what I've done with this also, I've got, so that's right, caramel there, it's all gone quite viscous. So that's about where you want it to be. And then all you do literally is you pour that on top of your strawberries. Again, these are sweet Eve. And let that cool down somewhere. And we'll have a little taste of this after we've done the lamb. It's one side. So this bit is a bit boring, just watching someone stir rice. What we're going to do, we're going to